Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with The Terror, Season 1, Episode 7 review. Alright, so what a crazy episode this week. I loved it. I really did enjoy it. I thought the ending and the whole thing building up to it, the whole episode, was really well done. I thought it was one of the best episodes so far. Last episode I liked, and I think the episode where they actually were fighting the monster there on the ship, that was a very good episode. The first episode was very good. So yeah, there's been a few standouts here, and I undoubtedly I think this is one of those standouts. Really awesome episode in my opinion. So. Yeah, and I mean a crazy kind of twist now that we see in this episode with Hickey, right? That's the big thing. So yeah, honestly, so we'll get into a recap here, and then go on to rating, favorite characters, some more overall thoughts towards the end of the review. But yeah, overall, those are kind of my thoughts of this one. So I also do want to propose something. That this episode kind of inspired me sort of to do, is I'm thinking of doing videos, sort of like a reaction or initial thoughts videos. So I'm thinking of doing these videos, like directly after the episodes air on TV, right? So right after I watch them, right after I finish watching them, I'll make a 2 to 3 minute video, maybe 5-minute video of just my initial thoughts, like without even, searching it up, watching it again, anything like that, just my initial thoughts, my reaction, because an episode like this with an ending like this, right? A huge twist like this, I feel like people, want to see, what other people are saying, like, and get some closure, right? So I feel like I may do that in the future, not for every episode of every TV show I do, but for episodes like this one, for example, where there's a crazy ending and a huge twist, I might do something like that, but then I'd also do a review, right? So I'd do these videos, a review video, but then I'd also do like a reaction, initial thoughts type of video, right after, and then I can upload it right away. So that's what I may be doing in the future here. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to do it for this show yet. I'm not sure, but yeah. So that's what I'm kind of planning. So I don't know if you guys like that idea. You don't like that idea, let me know. But yeah. So that's what I'm kind of thinking of. Doing in the future here, but we'll see. So anyways, let's get into this episode here. So we're at April 22nd, 1848. So I believe last episode was January, so I believe about 3 months have passed now, and they've actually began to pack, right? They began to pack for this big walk. I might be wrong. Maybe I think the start of last episode was January, so I don't know exactly how much time it went by in that episode, right? I'm not sure, but basically, so the men began to pack their things and supplies for the long trip, right? And a few of them are talking about the rescue team, right? And whether they made it to shore or not, right? And they can definitely help them, right? If they actually survived and they made it to shore and they're coming back for them, they can help them a lot, right? They can bring supplies and hopefully help, bring some of the Inuits that are living there, right, to help them and stuff like that. But as we see later in the episode, the rescue team didn't get too far. So, yeah, but a few of them are talking about that. And then we see Billy and Hickey. And Billy and Hickey were the ones who were engaged in that sexual, I guess having sex, under the deck there. And they were caught by the one lieutenant. But anyways, them two, they proposed the idea of a small group of them kind of splitting off from the others and going off alone, because it would be easier to survive with the supplies and everything like that if it was just a smaller group, right? So just like in the first scene of the episode here, we get kind of a hint of what's going on here, right? And see that Hickey is already kind of distancing himself, him and his friends there, from the others, right? Already. So that's, very interesting there at the beginning of the episode for sure. So then we see that Francis talks to the men who are staying on the ship. So this is interesting. I mean, I don't know why they would want to stay. The one does say that he'd rather die, in British blankets and all that stuff on the ship than, die out in the cold, walking, right? So I get that idea, but I really don't see how they think that they have any future. I don't think, I don't know. If I was in their position, I just think I would have no chance of surviving that if you stay on the ship. But they decide to do it. So they stay on the ship to continue to find the passage, presumably, right? That's what their ultimate goal is. And yeah, I just say, they are brave, don't get me wrong. But I just think it's kind of a dumb decision, too, just because I don't think they have any chance of surviving now. But, if that's what they want, that's how they want to die because they think everyone else is going to die, which they might not be wrong about, then maybe, that is the right thing to do. So, yeah, so Francis tells them their plans and where to meet them, right, and all that stuff. And he says, the sacrifice you men are making deserves a great reward. So, yeah, so he, he's recognizing exactly what these men are doing, and I think it's, like I said, it is a sacrifice for sure, and that they're trying to find this passage, and Francis definitely recognizes that. So yeah, and then we see that Francis signs off on his logbook there. He closes it right on the desk, and I feel like this kind of symbolized finally the end of their journey. Like they've finally given up, even though there's some men that are sticking around. The majority of them have now given up on the passage, and now they're just trying to, get home, right? They're trying to get to safety. And I feel like this was a great symbol for that, right? As he closed the book, it was like, okay, the journey is over. The passage is not, going to be found. Let's, continue on and let's get home. So I really like that part. And that's pretty much the beginning of the episode there. And then I think we get the intro bit after that. So yeah. Then we see that Good Sir pleads to Francis. So they've started walking now a little bit, and they're setting up in their tents now. And Good Sir pleads to Francis that he send out hunting parties immediately to catch seal and bear, so that the men can stop eating the tins. So he really, this whole tin thing has really become a big storyline, and I didn't even realize it at first exactly what it was all what it was all about. But now it's a huge thing, right? It's a huge thing, and we really see the effects of it in this episode. And Good Sir sees the effects on it on Mr. Collins, right? Mr. Collins is obviously pretty troubled right now, and he tells Good Sir about it. And Good Sir knows that it's probably due to the lead in the tins, right? This kind of disease, I guess it's causing, and it's causing the men to go basically mad. It's causing them to go insane. So, and make, really, really bad judgments and bad decisions and stuff like that. So, yeah, he really sees the effects of it with Mr. Collins. So he goes to Francis and he, begs him pretty much, right? And he says, we need to do something about this. They can't keep eating the stuff in the tins or else bad stuff is going to happen. But Francis declines. And he says he will only start hunting at King William's Island, that he can't really do anything about it right now because they don't know how to hunt seal and all that stuff. So Good Sir kind of loses out here. Of course, later in the episode that we see Francis does come back to this idea, but maybe it is too late, right? Maybe he should have done it when Good Sir told him, but anyways, so, yeah, Good Sir's playing a big part in this now, too, and he's trying to help the men here. He's trying to help them out, right, with the tins, but Francis isn't, I think Francis understands it, and I think he knows it's a real issue, but he just can't do anything about it right now, right, and I think he's honest with Good Sir in that scene. So we see the men stumble upon something here, and they kind of bring back, Francis and Fitzjames to come and see it, and it is the search party that they have been waiting for all this time, and they are all dead and presumably beheaded. I think they were beheaded, either that or they were in the snow, just their whole body covered except their head. But I think they were beheaded. I think they were, because it looked like it was separate, right? So their heads were kind of scattered in the snow, and their supplies are just, destroyed and everything. So they've been waiting all this time for this, rescue team to come, and they never even, made it. They're all dead and presumably beheaded. I think that the creature did this, right? I think that the monster did it, the Toonbach or whatever. But I don't think they don't make that obvious. But I think that's kind of what they're trying to play at here is that the monster did it. But it's a very bleak moment for the men, right? I mean, if they had any hope left, this is pretty much where they lose it, right? Because, like I said, they've been waiting all this time, right? And now they just find out that they died, a while ago, right? And they didn't even know about it. So, yeah, really crazy. So then Francis, of course, tells the men not to tell anyone else, right? Not to tell the others about it, as it would damage their spirits a lot, right? Saying that, the rescue team died, months ago, and we didn't even know about it. So there's no one coming for us, right? That wouldn't bode well with the rest of the men. So Francis is being a good leader. I really think his leadership qualities were really presented in this episode. I mean, just his ability to kind of, know what's right, know, how to control these men and stuff like that. I think Fitzjames did a good job when he was the leader, but Francis is definitely, I think, a better one. Obviously, he has more experience too. So then Fitzjames says 18 miles, that's all they made. And then Francis, our rescue, right? They were supposed to be our rescue, and they only made it 18 miles. So yeah, that just really, brings to attention, what I was saying about, that they only made it 18 miles, and they've been waiting for them this whole time, our rescue. So, yeah. If that's as far as the rescue team made it, I mean, who's saying that they can make it much farther, right? So, yeah, really, really crazy stuff there. And a bleak moment for sure. I think maybe one of the bleakest moments of the series so far. That's a really, tough one to watch. I kind of expected something like that was going to happen because we just really hadn't heard from this rescue team or anything about it until this episode. And at the beginning, when they start talking about them a lot, I knew that something was going to go wrong here. But this was still like a really, really, dark moment. So then the men come across a huge peak, but on the other side is a huge valley of land, right? There's no more ice. So this is King William's Island, I presume. I don't think they confirmed it in the episode, but I'm pretty sure that's what it meant. So they set up camp here, right? Finally they're off the ice, and they're pretty happy about it. And now it's starting to be a little bit warmer, right? So they they have a chance to. Obviously, it's still really cold. It's still really cold, but not as cold as negative 50 or something like that, where they were before on the ships, right? So then we see a man proposes that more of the men are armed to guard against the creature returning. So they're still worried about the creature. We haven't seen her. Yeah, I don't think... No, we didn't see it last episode, and we didn't see it the episode before. No, I think we did. The episode before is when they shot him and then he ran off. Or sorry, I should say it. I don't know if it's a he or she. Or even if it, maybe it's, a spirit. Maybe it doesn't have, a gender. Who knows, right? So I'm just going to say it. But yeah, so they haven't seen it in 2 episodes now, but they're still a little bit worried about it. So, and we get the idea, though, that he's naming off these names of the people who should be armed, who should be a part of this new team now. But this is the group that wants to split off. Right? These are the guys at the very beginning of the episode that we learned about that want to split off, and now he's trying to get them guns, right? So obviously there's a problem with this, and Francis declines, right? And then he says afterward to the guy he was talking to, he says the reason is sound, to protect against the creature, but he said some of those names are not. So does Francis already suspect what's going on? Does he know that those guys, are going to be an issue to them? Right? Who knows? But I think he definitely suspects something there. He says the names are not sound in that, and that's why I'm not allowing it. Right? So he knows that some of them may be up to something. I don't think he knows, of course, the whole thing about it, but he definitely knows that something's going on, right? So then we see that Mr. Morfin. So this is kind of where shit, went wrong, in the episode. This is kind of where, everything kind of spiraled out of control. So we see Mr. Morfin suddenly awakes the camp and tells them to kill him as he's in great pain. So we see, has he gone mad too? Probably, right? I mean, I was kind of asking this question when I was watching, or is he just actually in, physical pain and he just wants to die? But no, I think he's mad. I think he's gone insane now, as, from the tins, right? As Good Sir has been telling them. So Francis is kind of handling the situation, trying to talk him down a little bit. But then the man Mr. Morfin figures out that one of the sergeants is ready to fire at him, right? And he's kind of hiding in that tent, but he sees him. So he decides to fire at James's lantern because he knows then, okay, well, he's going to shoot at Fitzjames, then the sergeant is going to shoot him. So he actually kind of outsmarts them here. And Mr. Morfin gets shot and killed just like he wanted by the sergeant. But he doesn't actually shoot James. He just shoots his lantern, right? So he didn't really want to harm him, but he wanted to die. So, yeah, so he dies, right? And he's kind of put down then, I guess. But Francis is emphasizing, don't put him down. We're not going to do it, right? We're not putting him down. No one's going to do it. But then they end up doing it anyways. But I mean, it's kind of, Francis kind of understands it because he fired at Fitzjames. So he says, okay, Sergeant, you did the right thing, right? So yeah. And we see that Good Sir is greatly affected by this because he knows exactly why this is happening, and he just can't really do anything about it right now. So yeah, really emotional moment there when he's crying there, trying to go to sleep. And then we see Lady Silence comes in to comfort him. That was good. I mean, I don't really I just kind of thought that was kind of out of nowhere that she would just walk in his tent and lay down with him. But it was interesting. I mean, that relationship between them is obviously, good. And it's really developing here. But yeah, so Good Sir's really affected, and not a surprise, right? I mean, he knows the reason, and he can't really do anything about it. He can't help them right now. So yeah, really really sad stuff there. So then we see that Francis holds a meeting with Fitzjames and the lieutenants to finally reveal the problem with the tins. So he finally comes clean. Now they're on King William's Island. He's kind of decided to tell all of them now. So he tells them that Good Sir discovered an issue that has silently been undercutting all of us for years. That's what he says. And the lieutenants are obviously surprised, right? They have no idea about the tins. I think Francis and Good Sir are the only ones who know. I mean, he told the doctors, but they're both dead, right? So yeah, I mean, so they're the only two who knows, and now he's kind of finally revealing this to the men, and it's, really a big moment, and Collins even points out every single can. I mean, it's every single can is poisoned, and leading to the effects, the insane effects, right? Turning some of the men mad. So yeah, really, really crazy stuff there. Collins pointed out every single can. It's not just some of them, it's every one. And they've been eating from it for so long, right? So it's really crazy. So Francis, because of this, orders the hunting parties now to finally start. Now, I think it's a little too late for this, but he finally does decide to do it. And I think this decision is mainly inspired by Mr. Morfin's episode here. I think that really drove Francis and also Hickey in that group to do what they do, right? So I think that was kind of the breaking point for a lot of the characters to see that happen to Mr. Morfin, even though they kind of saw it in the carnival with the doctor last episode. But I think seeing it like firsthand and hearing what Mr. Morfin was saying really got to a lot of these characters. Obviously, we see it get to Good Sir, but I think it also gets to Francis a lot because now he's finally, ordering these hunting parties. So, yeah. And then he promotes Jobson to be a lieutenant. So that was kind of an interesting scene. But I feel like we're going to see something with that. I feel like they wouldn't just throw it in just because. So I think we're going to see some of that going forward. But as of now, nothing big about that one. All right, so then we get the end of the episode here, or the kind of like the back quarter of the episode with Hickey. So this was crazy stuff. Honestly, I have read spoilers about this, people that have seen the whole show, and I kind of rant about this. I think it was two reviews ago, and I was saying, how so many people have seen the whole series, and it just kind of ruins it for everybody. And I was really kind of subject to this. I knew that the cannibalism was going to happen ahead of time, just because people... Like, I don't know, you can't really read Twitter anymore, and not expect to see, like, spoilers, especially for the Terror, right? I mean, people have seen the whole series, and they're, like, commenting on, the tweets and stuff, saying all this, but anyway, so I kind of knew it was going to happen. Obviously, I didn't know how, and I didn't really know that Hickey was going to be the one to do it. I thought it was just, I wasn't sure. So I was kind of subject to spoilers on this one, but it was still just as effective when I saw it in the episode. So yeah, so Hickey's talking to the two men, right? And one of the men is the lieutenants, right? One of the like, I would say superior lieutenants. Like, he's a pretty big guy. So one of his lieutenants, and then one of the other men who is just like one of his friends there, one of his partners. So he says Good Sir and the captain are lying to them. It is not scurvy, so he knows something is going on. And we see early in the episode where he sees that Good Sir pulls Lady Silence away from the line for the food in tins, right? And he gives Lady Silence some other food instead. So he sees, right, in that moment, he knows, he kind of figures it out, what's going on. He knows that something is going on, at least, right? So Hickey says, what happened to Morfin is happening to all of us. And Good Sir, Crozier, right, so Francis, know it. And it's going to keep happening as long as we keep eating from the tins. Something in them is making us weak and weird. So, Hickey's figuring out. I mean, he's a smart guy, right? He's figuring out that the tins, and he's really uncovering this whole thing. It's kind of ironic, though, because he's figuring it out now, just as the lieutenants kind of figure it out. And now that they've organized the hunting parties, now he's figuring it out and kind of coming, to a conclusion here and kind of coming up with his own ideas. I mean... thankfully that he only came up with it this late. I mean, if he came up with it on the ship, I don't know that he would have got away with it on the ship, though. But yeah, I mean, good that he came up with it now, but it is a little ironic, right? So then the man says, the lieutenant says, even if that's true, they can't do anything about it because they don't have anything else to eat. right? And this is where Hickey comes in with his sinister idea, right? This is where he kind of comes in. And the guy makes a good point, though. I mean, they don't have anything else to eat. The tins are the only thing that is portable that they can bring with them, so they really have nothing else. But Hickey then reveals his idea of eating other people to survive. So cannibalism, right? So he shows the lieutenant a body part that they cut off from something, and I think it's a human. I thought it was a human at first, but it turns out I think it's the dog. Although he may have just been lying to them and saying that it was the dog when it was really a human. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, but anyways, so we see that Hickey argues that this plan makes the most sense, right? Out of any of the options, this is the best option for us, right? And he says Crozier's plan is bootless, and you know it. So I'm not exactly sure what bootless means, or maybe he said another word, but that's what I got. But he's essentially saying, it won't work, right? Crozier's plan won't work, and we're going to keep eating the tins, and stuff's going to keep happening to us. But if we start eating other people, then we're going to have, a big feast. We're going to survive, everything like this. So he's really just trying to talk him into it. So Hickey says that the body part is the dog that is missing, okay? And again, is he lying to him? Is it really a human body part? We don't know because we never saw what was in the bag. Honestly, I'm pretty okay with that. I didn't really want to see what was in the bag. But yeah, so, and then he also says he put it down, which I think we can all say that that's a lie. After exactly what we see in this episode from him, I don't think he put it down. He probably definitely killed it, and then, ate it. But anyways, so then Lieutenant says, what are you asking me, right? What are you asking me to do here, right? Are you asking me to, start killing people, right? So we can eat them? What are you saying, right? And Hickey says, there'll be a moment where the numbers make sense to more of the men. And when that moment comes, we need an officer, right? And then he says, survival is a nasty piece of business, but we do what we have to do. And honestly, I feel like this quote, basically, I think it's an iconic quote for the series. I think it's going to go down as like Hickey's motto, pretty much, right? He's the kind of guy that will do anything to survive. And he says it's a nasty piece of business. Survival is nasty, right? But we do what we have to do. And in this case, we have to eat people to survive, is his thinking. Which, I mean, is technically true. I mean, the tin cans are food, but it's not like, it's driving them all mad. So eating humans is really the only viable option right now. Even though it's, obviously a horrible, sinister idea. I mean, he does, I'll give him that. I mean, it's really is the only viable option. He's not wrong. But they've just, they're in such a tough situation now. But anyways, so yeah, really, really crazy scene here. Hickey talking to the lieutenant, trying to convince him of joining their kind of force. He says we need an officer, right? We're going to need someone in power to help us with, what we want to do. So really, really crazy. And the lieutenant actually buys it, I think. He honestly buys it, and I think he kind of agrees with Hickey, in the sense that it's their only option. I don't think he wants to do it, but it's their only option to survive, right? So, yeah. So we see that Irving's hunting party, so John Irving, meets a group of Inuits traveling along the land. So this was just a really sad scene, because after all that they've went through, right, they finally find a group of Inuits, and they give food to Irving there. It looks like things are looking up, right? We see that, it's just like a really positive thing. He trades him the little looking glass, right? The telescope, and all that stuff. It's really looking like a good scene. And then afterwards, everything just goes wrong. And that's what I love about this show, the horror aspect, right? Really, really great. Everything's looking, upbeat. Everything's looking good. And then boom, I mean, you get what we get. So, yeah, so Irving goes to introduce himself to them, and one of the Inuit men gives him food, right? And then at this point, he loses sight of Hickey and the other guy on the hill, right? So he's kind of wondering what's going on, right? So, he runs back to find them, make sure that he didn't lose them or anything, and he sees Hickey hovering over the man's body. And at this point, I'm like, okay, you know what happened, right? You know what happened. Hickey killed him. But this was crazy. I did not expect what was going to happen next. Then, as Irving comes close, he runs toward Hickey, and then we get that really, really creepy music. And all of a sudden, Hickey just turns around and stabs Irving. I mean, at least, I would say, 10 times. He just viciously stabs him and kills him. And then he, keeps his hand over his face and make sure that he dies right there. I mean, that was really, really crazy. I did not expect that. Like, goddamn, I did not expect that at all. That was really, really crazy. Really, really crazy. So, yeah, so he stabs Irving, kills him, and of course he's like pretty much naked right now, right? Because he's not trying to get the blood or any evidence on his coat so that the other men know. So yeah, really, really kind of a sick scene there. But the horror, right? The horror aspect's definitely back. And now we see a little flashback where Hickey meets Irving for the first time, and that was kind of emotional there. Kind of interesting, right? For sure, and I do have something to explain about that. The two flashbacks that we saw at the very beginning of the episode and the end. And then the episode ends where we see Hickey standing over both of the dead bodies. So really, really crazy stuff there. Really crazy to see. And yeah, that's the end of the episode. So really dark ending to this one. Like I said, it's, you kind of get the idea. Okay, things are brightening up, right? Things are getting positive. They found an Inuit group that can help them now to hunt and whatever. Nope. Irving's dead, and so is the other guy, and Hickey's going to be eating them, right? So it's like totally one side to the other, totally switched. So I do want to explain also this. So this was insane. It actually took me, I had to watch the episode back again to finally actually realize this, and a friend actually pointed this out to me. So the flashback at the beginning of the episode shows a young boy, Cornelius Hickey, right, getting his paper signed by the lieutenant. So I didn't mention that in the recap because I didn't think it was a big deal. So we see that at the very beginning, kind of seemed like a throwaway scene. But then at the end of the episode, we see the man who we know to be Cornelius Hickey come on the come on the ship, and he is questioned because the lieutenant doesn't recognize him, right? He doesn't recognize who he is, but he says, oh, it's just my beard, that's why. And that lieutenant doesn't really think about it and lets him go. So he stole this person's identity to get on the ship, right, is what we're kind of led to believe here. And I had to watch it back a couple times to actually realize what was happening here. But they showed this all to us, and kind of, obviously, beginning and the end, people probably would have forgot about it by then. But if you watch it back, it actually is true. The kid does not look anything like Cornelius Hickey that we know. So he stole the guy's identity, this kid's identity, and maybe even killed him for it, right? And this makes us question, okay, so that's not his real name. How did he get the identity? Did he kill him for it? And if he killed him for it, what other secrets is he hiding? Like, is he a serial killer? Is he a psychopath? I mean, did he eat people back in England, right? So really, really crazy stuff here. Hickey is not who we think he is. He may not even be Cornelius Hickey. I mean, I don't even think that's his real name. So really, really crazy stuff. I'm really looking forward to what they kind of do with this character and where they kind of bring him going forward. Really awesome. All right, so in terms of a rating for this episode, I'm going to give it a 4.7 out of 5. I think that's one of my highest ratings for the series so far, but I really, really liked it. I love this new Hickey storyline. It's bringing back that horror, right, in a big way, The whole cannibalism thing is crazy, and how they're going to play this out. I mean, how is this going to work, right? And I really like the fact that with this storyline, they deceived us the whole season, right? And they finally kind of show us in this episode, Now, I do want to point out though that I said in I think one of my reviews for like episode 3 or something, I did say that I thought Hickey was evil and I thought he was up to something here, that there was something below the surface that we didn't know about. And I have to say I'm right about that one. So I just want to get that out there that I did say that. I got to watch back which review it was, but I did say that. So anyways, so they've really deceived us the whole season, right? He may not even be Cornelius Hickey. That might not even be his name. And this whole time we've kind of thought that. Now, they have shown us scenes that kind of led us to believe, like, oh, maybe this guy is a little bit crooked, right? Maybe he's a little bit creepy. But they never showed us, like, this scale, right? That he was a cannibalist and whatever. So really, really good job here in kind of keeping that secret and then finally kind of revealing this huge, big storyline to us now at the end of the season. And this is kind of going to be the final, like, horror push, right, in the end of the series. So, yeah, I really like that the off the ship, right? They're finally off the ship, and that kind of meant new pacing, new scenery. So I really like that. I felt like that was a big positive of this episode. Yeah, I enjoyed the ships, but it was getting a little bit boring, right? So it was nice to see that, they're kind of finally off of them, kind of walking, and the pace was a lot different, too. It seemed like a little bit of a faster pace in this episode. Maybe that's just because of the episode, but I think it was mainly because they're kind of off the ship. We kind of got to change the scenery. There's a lot of stuff going on, right? So I really liked that. And it was a really well detailed episode, right? With the flashback at the beginning, the flashback at the end connecting. A lot of stuff connected in this episode, and they really, really did a good job of with the writing and all that, and kind of connecting those back, and and all that stuff. So really, really good job here. And this, honestly, I really love this episode. I really can't think of small things. I mean, Lady Silence coming in Good Search 10, I thought that was kind of a little bit out of place. I'm just trying to think of other stuff. I mean, Fitz James wasn't really a focus in this episode. They kind of made him out to be. I mean, he was the leader of the expedition for last episode, and he was kind of Francis' right-hand man now. But I don't know, in this episode it didn't really seem like he was relevant at all. So honestly, those would be my only really two negatives. I really love this episode. Thought it was one of the best, maybe even the best of the show so far. And I have no doubt in my mind that next episode and the next two after that, that the last three episodes here are going to be really good. So yeah, and I've heard really good things about the finale from people who have seen the whole thing. Hopefully, I haven't heard any spoilers for it though, so I'm not, I don't know what happens, but I've just heard it's very good. So yeah, I really look forward to that one for sure. But yeah, really good episode this week. Favorite character is obviously going to be Cornelius Hickey, or is that even his name, right? We don't know, but he's played by Adam Negatis, I think. And he's doing a fantastic job. I mean, to be able to, as an actor, I mean, he probably knew, right, when he signed on for the project, that this was where the character was going to go, right? But this whole time that he's been able to kind of play it off and kind of, be this character that's kind of in the dark. I mean, we've had some focus on him, but he hasn't been, a huge, like he's not like a Francis, turning into this. I mean, so he's really kind of been kind of down, kind of slow, kind of a quiet character throughout the season so far, and now it's like a huge role, and it's the biggest storyline right now. So Adam Negatis doing an amazing job at that, being able to kind of portray a character like that. And I think his best performance is yet to come. I really think that next episode and like I said, the next two episodes after that are going to be awesome. And I think he's going to play a big part in it. So yeah, really great stuff there from him and the whole cast. Really doing a good job on this one. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this review. That'll just about do it. Please let me know what you think of my idea for the reaction / initial thoughts videos that I may start doing. Not for every episode, but for episodes like this where you have a big ending or a big twist, where I can quickly just talk about that 2 to 3 minutes, and kind of upload a video right away. So let me know if you're kind of liking that. If you don't like it, yeah, so let me know. But yeah, thank you for your support on the channel. I really, really appreciate it. The recent support has been awesome. I think we've hit 41,000 now video views, so that's really awesome, and 107 subscribers. So can't thank you guys enough. Really, really appreciate it. And yeah, so thank you again for watching this review, and I will see you next week for The Terror Season 1, Episode 8.